All right, we're coming off the Olympics now, Conor. Hockey is hot, so let's keep it going. The Bruins, this is a great time to kind of catch up on where they're at in the season right now. 23 games remaining, and then the trade deadline is 3 o'clock on Friday. So Don Sweeney, GM, just spoke on Monday morning for the first time all season since the season began. You were at the press conference. What'd you learn today?
Yeah, Don Sweeney mentioned that all options are on the table for the Bruins. You look at where they are. Yes, they're in a playoff spot, but they're hanging on just by a few points with that final playoff spot. So it feels like the Bruins are going to try to add, but they're being selective, right? This is a team that could use a little bit of reinforcements, but you look at where they were last year. They've acquired a lot of assets, but they're not going to be in the business of rentals, right? They're not going to be trading a first-round pick for a guy that's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So Don Sweeney mentioned them looking and being opportunistic for difference makers. Like, what is that? It's probably a player that can help you out now, but also in the years ahead. So what that's going to mean, it's going to be players that are going to cost a lot. You're talking maybe a first-round pick, if not more. You've got a couple of blue-chip prospects like James Hagens, Dean Letourneau. It's going to cost a lot, but if the Bruins can find the right trade partner and bring in a guy that helps you out both this year and the years to come, it kind of falls in line with what they're trying to build with this retooling roster.
So if I hear you correctly, Conor, it sounds like for the second straight year, you're expecting some fireworks from the Bruins at the deadline. Last year, it was selling everyone off, including Brad Marchand, trading him down to Florida. But if they're looking for impactful players, these are major trades that you're saying are going to be coming down the pipeline for the Bruins.
Yeah, definitely isn't going to be like last year where you more or less tore the roster down to the studs. And what they did last year was bold. Not a lot of teams waved the white flag as far as, saying that this isn't their year and you're moving multiple players off the roster. But you look at what the Bruins got, right? They've got young talent in Fraser Minton. They've got multiple first-round picks. They've got 4 first-round picks the next 2 years. And so if you're the Bruins, yeah, you can stay the course and you're already kind of ahead of schedule. But if the right player shows up, if it's a guy like Robert Thomas, who's a top 6 center for the St. Louis Blues, if you're looking for help on defense with a guy like Mackenzie Weegar, you can parlay some of those picks, some of those prospects, and get an impact guy that, again, it falls in line with sort of what they did with like Hampus Lindholm a few years ago. You get a 28-year-old Hampus Lindholm, helps you out that year when you're in more of a win-now mindset, but then you sign him to an 8-year deal and he helps you out years ahead. So I think the Bruins are going to be opportunistic. They're not going to look for those short-term gains or anything like that, but if the right deal is out there, I think they are going to be aggressive.
All right, so Conor, one of the themes in Boston sports this year is teams kind of overperforming expectations. We saw it with the Patriots. We're seeing it with the Celtics, and frankly, we're seeing it with the Bruins now. So we're coming out of the break. They played 2 games off the Olympic break. They have 23 to go. They're in 8th place, clinging on to that final wild card. Just kind of how surprising is this run, and is this timeline sped up from what we expected? Should they be making moves different from maybe what you expected at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the year, everyone was expecting, kind of like the Celtics, that there was going to be a bit of a bridge season for this group where, yes, they're on the right track, but you're 2-3 years away from where you want to be. And you look at where they've been so far. You've had your star players have delivered. David Pastrnak is still David Pastrnak. Jeremy Swayman has rebounded. Charlie McAvoy's playing at a high level. But you also have had other guys step up that have been kind of part of this core as well. Morgan Geekie has gone from a guy that was a third-line player to a legitimate top 6 forward. You've got younger players you acquired at the deadline last year, like Fraser Minton looks like a player, and you've got all these draft picks along the way. So the Bruins, even if they stand pat and the prices are too high, they're still in a good spot where even if they make the playoffs, they come up just short. They've got a lot of young talent along the way. They got James Hagens at BC, who's probably going to be here later in March or early April. So you look at where they've been under Marco Sturm, who's mapped out a strong identity for this group that they can adhere to. They're probably a year, 2 years ahead of where you expected them to be at this point.
All right, we got a little bit less than a minute here. Biggest need for the Bruins, probably a top 6 forward, like specifically a center. What do they need here?
Yeah, I think some scoring help would help out tremendously. They've punched above their weight when you look at their power play has been top 5, and they've been one of the top 10 highest scoring teams in the league. But a lot of it's been shooting percentage in areas where you look under the hood at some of those numbers. It feels like they're shooting above their expected as far as their expected goals. You're expecting maybe some regression there when you look at how these other players are playing. So if you're even able to get a player that can give you an extra 15, 20 goals somewhere down the lineup, I think that helps you out with, last thing you want is that regression to hit once you get into April and the games matter even more.
Yeah, and you know what? The Bruins, they kind of have the grit and the grind this year to succeed in the playoffs. They just need some scoring. So, you know what? Add one top 6 guy at the deadline. Maybe that's enough for the Bruins.